And there we have it, the finished build inside the Sakura Edition NR200P. The result is what I'm calling the one-of-one pink NR200. Definitely one of the most aesthetic and unique PCs I've ever assembled for sure, which was kind of the leading notion for this build, to put together something that was predominantly influenced by aesthetics, while still being quite capable for high refresh rate 1440p gaming. It's for a community Discord member who lives in the Netherlands, and she has been talking about needing a new PC for quite some time now, but just simply couldn't afford the cost of such a system, which has kept her on a very clunky laptop. Today, I'm hooking her up with quite a beast of a system compared to what she's currently using, so I said, you know what, it's pretty rare to see a pink PC out there in the wild that doesn't suck, so let's double down and make it one of a kind. So here, I'm using the Sakura edition of Cooler Master's NR200P. Initially, I was looking for the flamingo pink colorway, and in my search, just so happened to stumble upon this super rare spec up for sale on eBay. And of course, I just had to get it. I mean, how could I not, right? And not only does it aesthetically look very tasteful, with the decals on the panels and the contrast between the pink and the white paint, but the history of this case is actually quite interesting as well. I reached out to Cooler Master themselves asking for a bit of history on this special edition case, and this is the information they could provide me with. The NR200P Sakura Edition was indeed a special, limited edition release, and Cooler Master produced only 200 units of this particular design. While the Sakura Edition had a limited quantity of 200 cases, it was not region locked. However, the availability was based on global distribution through Cooler Master's official channels and selected partners. This means that the 200 units were made available across multiple regions. Ultimately, it was a worldwide release. The NR200P series has since evolved to cater to different needs, such as increased compatibility with large GPUs and improved airflow. However, the Sakura Edition remains one of the most distinct and cherished designs for collectors and enthusiasts alike. So 200 units worldwide. How lucky is it to have snagged one? The timing could not have been any more perfect. She's seen the case, of course, through pictures, and she's absolutely over the moon excited for it. Now for the CPU, I've gone with the Ryzen 5 7600X3D. Just a simple 6 cores, 12 threads with a colossal stack of L3 cache, being able to pump out some extremely high frame rates just like its bigger brothers, the 78 and 9800X3D. Not a whole lot to say here, we know how fast these 3D V-cache chips are by now, so I expect nothing less from this one. Now I've paired that with the insanely clean X870i Aorus Pro Ice from Gigabyte. Easily one of the best looking ITX boards out there, no doubt. In fact, this is the first all-white PCB I've seen on an ITX board, which is really sick. Kind of reminiscent of their Z590i Vision D model from a few years back. It's really refreshing to see ITX boards getting more and more development and attention over the years. This model is no exception either, with the I/O including 2 USB-C ports and a BIOS flash button. And as if the special edition case wasn't enough, I'm using Galax's RTX 4070, and this one is the Gamer EX Pink Edition. I've never really seen too many Galax branded cards out there in the wild, and the same is true with the 4070 that we have here, which is why I say I think this build is a one of one. The chances of getting one of these 200 unit cases and pairing it with this specific Gamer EX Pink GPU, I mean the odds are really slim. Now, I know it's just the 4070, which is about equal performance to a 3080 Ti, but that should still be enough to comfortably drive a high refresh rate 1440p gaming experience. The NR200P can fit massive graphics cards anyways, so this could be easily swapped out in the future for something more powerful. And then for the cooling system, I'm using the Pink Vicho V5 air cooler, along with a full set of their pink RGB 120mm fans, 2 of which are strapped to the cooler itself as a push-pull setup, oriented as exhaust. Now, that's not usually how you'd set up an air cooler in this case. Most people would advise positioning as rear intake to provide the best CPU thermals, as you're kind of bringing in the cool ambient air into the system. This is exactly how I set up Amber's white NR200P, for those that remember that build, but here, since the 7600X3D pulls a lot less power under gaming loads, it makes a lot more sense here to prioritize GPU cooling, even if that means slightly warmer CPU temps. In my testing of the system, I found that running the cooler as intake would put a few extra degrees on the GPU, as exhaust airflow is having a harder time finding its way out of the case. So taking a few extra degrees on the CPU for better GPU thermals is worth the trade-off. Additionally, I reached out to one of my buddies to 3D print me a pink and white plaque with her username on it, and that will sit right on the power supply cage, which I've applied some 3M double-sided tape to. I think it's kind of the icing on the cake. It really personalizes this build, and not only does it look visually pleasing, but it also has the performance to enable her to do whatever she wants with, that she simply couldn't do within the limitations of her laptop. I'm sure she's going to be absolutely thrilled, so I'm going to get this on its way to her. I'll see you in the next one.